Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is college basketball Wednesday, January 24th. Jake, coming off another 2-1 show day. The show picks have been doing great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just killed it. I mean, Kentucky has their worst shooting night of the year, and we still come within striking distance.
Long range missile, maybe. But we talk about that all the time. And that's the outro slides mention that as well, right? Like there's variance and you never know what's going to happen. And we aren't trying to predict one game because we have literally no idea what's going to happen. Because who in the right mind would have predicted? What was the stat that Cousin Jared threw out in the Discord that Kentucky missed 7 straight layups? Like,
yeah.
How does it even? I think the announcers talked about them going like, I don't know what it was, like 3 for 11 in layups in the first half or 3 for 14, whatever it was. I don't know. It was something crazy where I'm like, how is this even possible? You know, I don't care if you're playing on the moon. You got to be able to do better than that, right? And
especially with the athletes they have that can turn a layup to a dunk without thinking about it. So there's no excuse.
Yeah, so I mean, we always talk about it. Weird things are going to happen. That's why we preach, never more than 5% of your bankroll in a single play. Usually, never more than 3, 4. A lot of times, talking 2 or 3 is very confident. Even that a lot of times is high. And Jake, you've talked about it. A lot of times you even go less than that. You're going 0.5% or 1% or something. Even smaller because there's just a lot of variance. We never know what's going to happen. That Kentucky game was really weird, but we got the other 2. The Iowa game played out kind of like we thought, and we snuck in with a winner. With Charlotte, we're recording late enough we can actually talk about this, which half the time we record early enough and we're still like, I don't know what's happening. So it was a good Tuesday for us. We'll move on into Wednesday. But again, you can sign up for Dub Club. You get 3 months for the price of 2. That gets you through college basketball and gives you a taste of baseball. Folks, if you haven't seen this with baseball, you want to be around for that. We do so well with it, given – and I kind of mentioned this yesterday, there's no point spread attached to it. The fact that how it operates off the money line, I think we just have a unique advantage with my skill set, creating these models that we only see in baseball. And I think we'll see it in hockey when we get to the hockey model, which I'll be working on building as well. But it's just they operate a little bit different, and it's worked so well. If you want to be around for baseball, just stick around for the next 2 months of college basketball. You get that 3rd month free. You get to start off with baseball season and see how you like it, see if we can make you some money there. That QR code will get you to the link to get 3 months for the price of 2, or you can use the promo code 24CBB3, also link in the show description. Otherwise, though, Jake, let's get right to it. Maryland and Iowa. Maryland's defense kind of surprising me with that rating up there, just looking really strong. Offense, not so much, but we've talked about that earlier in the season, that their offense can really disappear at times. Iowa at home, I believe for the first time since 1912, did not score 75 points or more at home in their last game. That was against Purdue, who is maybe the best team in the country. If not, they're for sure in the top 5, if there's no way you could argue they're not in the top 5. Most people would say they're either the best or the second best at this point. I think they're in most people's power ratings top 2. And so whatever, we can kind of look the other way on that. Their offense is still good. They're still going to give up some points. But in the Big Ten, it's really hard to go against the home team. It's really hard to go against Iowa. Jake, we're going to lay the 5. We're going to give this an A grade here. We talked yesterday about the difference, this exact number with the Charlotte game, right? Laying a number like 5 and just saying, I don't have all the answers. I like to be transparent and just say I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. I wish I had more time to try to give you the answer. Unfortunately, things change, and so it's not even it's a constant evolution of a process to try to figure out. Laying a minus 190 or 200 on this, that's a little tough because Iowa can go cold shooting. I'd rather just lay the 5. And knowing Iowa, they might run away and win this game by 15. And they might not. Anything can happen, of course. But knowing how many points Iowa scores, I really like laying a number like 5. And just like with Charlotte, there's 2 ways we can get there. They can run away, or just like Charlotte did, they can kind of be, up a little bit late, hit some free throws on some fouls, win by 6, right? So there's a couple different ways you can get there. Model says they win by an average of 9 points. Again, not predicting one single game. Do not know, especially with Iowa, what will happen. But if you average all the possible universes together, we think that this number is pretty low and should be higher, especially given what we've seen with home court advantage in the Big Ten. Jake, tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, home court says it all right here because Maryland doesn't bring an offense on the road. They've yet to break 70 on the road, and you're going to have to score more than 70 to beat Iowa. I mean, they put up 70 on Purdue, and Purdue's defense can absolutely be suffocating to teams that are not extremely proficient behind the arc or without an extremely mobile big guy to get Edie moving around. Uh, Maryland, man, their defense is very good, but you've got to score to win in this game, and their their offense needs the extra turnovers that their defense forces. Iowa is one of the top 5 teams at not turning it over, even at the extremely high pace they play at. They just do not turn the ball over that often, uh, and I don't think Maryland's going to have enough opportunities to get Jameer Young the ball enough to score to stay with Iowa because he's really the only consistent offense they have. Um, and I just if this game was in Maryland, totally different story. It's just at
Mhm.
I think Iowa takes care of business here.
And you see that in the home road splits, just in the terms of number of possessions per game in Iowa games. The home road splits are really extreme there. I mean, everything with Iowa is extreme on the home road split. And on the road, other teams are able to kind of get them more into their game. But in Iowa City, that's just not what happens. And I think it's interesting. This is a massive battle of paces. Of course, Iowa, one of the faster teams in the country, not the fastest, but very up there with regards to they just want to get up and down the court, and they tend to struggle to get back on defense, and they let other teams get up and down the court a little bit too. Maryland, on the other hand, though, one of the slowest teams in the country. And so I think it's a real interesting game because, if you're Maryland, you have to try to take advantage of Iowa being a little bit slow to get back on defense and that transition quick up and down game, and then you're falling into their trap, playing their game. And that's not what Maryland does. So I feel like Maryland on the road just at a tough spot. And again, you never know what's going to happen. Iowa could go cold. Maryland could just get hot. And that's going to be really the way that Maryland wins this game, I think, is if they just get hot from three. That's the great equalizer. And we see it sometimes in college sports where, a team, home or road, will go, 2 for 20 from three, and one team will go, 6 for 11. And it's like, I mean, that changes things, right? So that can happen, of course. But otherwise, if you're Maryland on the road, you're in a tough spot here because you're either playing their game or you're not taking advantage of Iowa's weakness. And as I mentioned, that is the difference between, as you mentioned too, this game being at Maryland versus this game being at Iowa. At Maryland, we see Iowa struggles to get up and down quite as much. The home team is typically able to control the game a little bit more. And that's where Maryland can kind of slow things down and maybe put a clamp on this, and there's a much better chance of winning. But in Iowa City, we're like Iowa here, -5. I think this number's too short. I think the books maybe haven't quite caught up to just how much this home court matters, especially in Big Ten conference games. It's always been a little bit higher, ticked up just a little bit this year. Probably not too much, maybe not quite as much as it seems, but it's definitely ticking up. And so we're going to take Hawkeyes -5, great pick. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Auburn and Alabama, two pretty solid teams here, in-state rivalry. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say other than the fact that I clearly typoed on the graphic there, and that should be 36% for Auburn because there is not a 110% chance of one of these two teams winning, but that's what happens with the slides.
You don't know that.
So, I mean, it could, right? According to the good place, anything could be up to what I believe 104% awesome or something. That's how we got Beyonce. So, two good teams. Alabama, better offense, questionable defense. Auburn, a little bit more well-rounded. Home court, kind of a big thing here. We're going to take Alabama -150. Just ekes into the B grade territory. Jake, they win 64% of the time. Break even point for -150, 60%. So small edge here, but worth playing. Why do you like Alabama at home in this one?
I like Auburn. Auburn is a very good team. They haven't shown it to me on the road yet. But away from home, they've got 2 wins, which is at Arkansas. They destroyed them, but so props to them for destroying them. But it's not impressive. At Vandy, not impressive either. They lost to Appalachia State on the road and were beat by Baylor first game of the year at a neutral site. And then they beat Notre Dame and St. Bonaventure at neutral sites. It's not that they just haven't shown to me anything on the road. Alabama is going to be hot coming in. It's a rivalry game. I mean, after that performance at Tennessee, I'm sure they're itching to get back out there and play their game and not let a game get dictated to them. I think Alabama does this at home. Their offense is too good. Their defense is catching up. I don't think Auburn is going to be as good as their numbers say they are right now on the road. This is the first true test in conference play on the road, because I don't count the first two. But so I just think that home court plus the way Alabama plays makes a lot of difference here. I think Auburn's going to get stuck playing Alabama's game, and that's going to really lead to Alabama flexing their offense on them.
And I think, viewer, if you were to say, Alabama's 12-6, how in the world are they a top 10 team? At this point, I think once you get past really the top four, I think right now in college basketball, it starts getting questionable. Beyond that, I don't really know where to put anybody. I feel pretty good about the top four. Beyond that, I don't know. I think when you look at Alabama's schedule, there are some kinks in the armor. They've played a really tough schedule. Now, the counter, and some people, and I completely understand if you're going to say this, you're going to say, they got to win some games. Auburn's a tough game. They haven't won tough games. How are you, and I would say, absolutely. I completely agree with that. They've played a tough schedule. They've lost, they lost to Arizona, who's one of those top four teams. They lost to Purdue, who's one of those top four teams. They lost at Tennessee, who's in that next tier, right? Of, top 10, whatever, top 15. I mean, for sure, another very good team on the road. They lost at Creighton, who Creighton has been a little up and down, but Creighton can be a top 10 team as well if they're putting it together. They've got the talent there. They lost at home to Clemson, who's not a bad team. Ohio State, that's not a great loss, but I mean they beat Oregon. They thumped Indiana State, who's a pretty good mid-major. They've played a lot.
Destroyed South Carolina at home, who just
destroyed South Carolina.
Kentucky.
Yeah, and that's looking impressive. But maybe let's not focus on Alabama, because I totally get they played a tough schedule. They've lost probably more of their tough games than they've won. But when you look at Auburn, that schedule is really soft. I mean, they played Baylor at a neutral site game to start off the season, and they lost it. They played Notre Dame in a neutral site game, and I don't know when that was scheduled. Maybe there was a time when that was scheduled when that was going to be a good game, but it wasn't, because this Notre Dame team isn't that good. So that doesn't do much for you. I mean, it's Alabama A&M, and they lost at Appalachian State. I mean that's – Indiana's not that good this year, and they've also had some injury issues. They beat USC. USC's not that good this year. And again, maybe I'm not blaming them for not playing anybody. Like, there's a chance when they put the schedule together, they thought it was going to be tougher than it is. It's just when you're trying to judge where they are, it's Alabama State, it's Chattanooga, it's Penn. It's like, it's not that good. Like the Arkansas, they haven't gotten to the meat of the conference schedule. They played A&M early on when they were still dealing with some injuries. They played LSU. It's just, I'm not saying Auburn can't win this game. It's that anything you say about Alabama, they haven't been impressive in these tough games. I'm like, well, Auburn hasn't even played in the tough games yet. And that, like you said, that's a little bit of a concern. That loss at App State, that's a concern. Just not a lot of good wins there. And that's kind of why we had the model help us calibrate all this. And the model says Auburn is a good team, that it's not. Like you said, I like Auburn too. But they're going to be a little bit outmatched on the road here. Flip this game at Auburn, they should be favored. Yeah. At Alabama, we're going to take the favorite here, minus 150, just ekes in to a B grade. And then a late night game. Jake, I haven't looked yet. Hopefully this is on ESPN, because this one should be a fun one. For those of us up late, Utah at Washington State. It's probably on the Pac-12 network, because we can't have nice things. Utah, very solid. We've talked a lot about Utah. We've liked them. They're kind of closing and hovering in at this point where we're kind of rating them, and a lot of the power ratings have them kind of in this mid-20s, good, not great. For the Pac-12, that's pretty solid, because this is definitely a down year again for the Pac-12. Unfortunately, the Pac-12 basketball doesn't look to be going out in a blaze of glory like football did. Football, Pac-12 went out just with beauty. I mean, it was really makes you sad to lose the Pac-12 football after we saw basketball. Conference champions and all, of course, we joke, hasn't been the case for 20 years now. 30 years. I don't even know how long it's been. Washington State's not bad, and these Pac-12 road trips can be tough. We're giving Washington State a pretty good little home court edge. We took home teams the first two times. Home teams don't win 100% of their games, though. We're going to go Utah minus 114. Another one that just ekes into the B grade, but we think this is worthy of a play here on your Wednesday night. Jake, tell us why.
Like, I mean, it's simple. Utah absolutely destroyed Washington State at Utah, right? 80-58. It was borderline 30-point game the whole time. Don't think home court is going to make 20 points difference either way. I mean, I know home court is worth a lot this year. It seems like more than ever, but I don't think it's 20 points, and it's not like Utah shot outstanding or anything. They shot their normal percentages in that game. Maybe a bit better at three. I think they shot close to 40% that game, and they're around 35. But it's not like they were just outstanding or anything like blow your mind 60% like Nebraska when they played Purdue. I just think this Utah team is a nightmare matchup for Washington State and everything they want to do. Defensively, they want to force you to shoot the three ball. Utah likes shooting the three ball. They don't force a lot of turnovers, and that's going to hurt you because Utah really takes advantage on the offense. They have a very good offense. They work the ball around. They find good shots. The only part that makes me nervous about this is Utah's free throw percentage. It's in 66-ish percent, somewhere there. That's not comfortable. That doesn't make me feel too comfortable when they're going on the road. But I think the matchups work out for Utah to absolutely handle Washington State, similar to the first game. I don't know that it's going to be near a 30-point game, but it'll probably 10-15, 5-10-15, something like that feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. Utah here, this is what we would talk about. You can lay the points, take the money line, but in reality, it's so close to the same thing. It's not really much of a contest, but with regards to what you have to choose, because it's really choosing the same thing. In fact, depending on the book you have, you may only have one option and not the other. But as long as it stays in this ballpark, we think it's worth a play. We wouldn't want to lay too much, or if you do understand, like you said, it could be a Utah runs away with it thing, but just understand that we've lost a little bit of the value. And that's where we talk about the model having value. Sometimes it's not necessarily telling us everything to play. It's just kind of telling us understanding where it says we've lost value. And if you disagree with that, then that's obviously fine. Just understand why you think it's different from that, right? And so in this case, if you say, you think Utah is going to win by more than the projection that the model thinks, well, as long as you're sitting there saying, well, the model's seeing this and I'm seeing this, that's absolutely fine. We can all disagree and whatnot. What we can't disagree on are the fundamentals of, every side has a number that it should be played at, right? Those are the fundamentals we all have to agree on, but where that number is can be different for all of us. Jake, you like Utah a little bit more than the model does. And so that's kind of what we're here to kind of say is the model's kind of giving us a starting direction. It kind of says, hey, maybe you look at Utah and you looked at Utah and said, yeah, I like it. And so we're going to play Utah at -114. And I finally did it. I did a little bit of a different, check it out here. This is what you get on Dub Club. I have the cheat sheet, but the cheat sheet is a lot of words. This is what you get in chart form, so you get all the games listed. I put it, you could pause the video and zoom in, especially for your phone, zoom in. On the top there, you can kind of see the chart form of everything you get. It shows you what the pick is. It's color coded by grade, how much we're risking on it, if we're playing as an official pick or not. And then I zoomed in there on the bottom one just to show you, what the model says the threshold is. Right now, the model says the threshold for a B grade is this -114, so it actually just ekes in. If you get to +111, it's an A grade. But again, Jake, you think the A grade might be a little bit lower, that you like it more. Again, that's fine. Projects an average of about 148 points there, which is why we would have a C grade to the over as of now. Not really something we would be in love with. You can see the pace, offensive, defensive ratings, the team ratings there. We get Utah number 22, Washington State number 67. So again, all the information that you get each and every day on Dub Club for every single game, and you get that in chart form with just all the games listed. Sign up today. Link in the description to get 3 months for the price of 2. And then that's all we've got here. We are going to have an extended cut today for our friends over on Dub Club, where we'll talk about the plays of the day and a couple of other games that have caught our attention. But Jake, before we get to the interlude and come back to talk more college hoops, you have any parting words for the people?
Yeah, I'm just very angry at Minnesota for not finishing that comeback. Get the technical foul there at the end to give us 2 free throws to take the lead, miss both those, get the rebound, get fouled, go 1 of 2, and then that just send everything spiraling, and then not even get a shot off towards the end of that. And then you get the miracle. He hits the first free throw, gets the rebound on the missed free throw, almost puts it in, and 2 guys on the same team can't decide who has the ball, and they miss the shot to tie it.
It felt like there were 19 ways we could have won that game at like plus. What did we get? Plus 190 or something? Plus 180? Something up there. And I felt like there were like 19 different ways we could have won that game, and that's them's the breaks. Thankfully, we got Charlotte at least to kind of balance out. That's what we talked about. Hopefully, we can get some to balance it out. We had that stretch where it just felt like there was nothing balancing, but if we can balance it out, at least it's good, and that's how it goes in the long run. The short run can be frustrating. It's why, again, we remind everyone the variance in college basketball. Don't put too much of your money, of your bankroll, on any of these games, because the roller coaster ride of college basketball is just wild. We get a little more aggressive in baseball because we do so much consistently better with baseball. So again, you want to stick around for that if you haven't already. Many of you are like, yeah, you're looking forward to baseball. I'm looking forward to getting it going. Otherwise, though, little outro music, little principles, little ideas that we follow around here. And if you're with us on Dub Club, stick around. You'll have the exclusive link and you'll be able to watch the rest of the show. Otherwise, we'll see you later on.